All right, so today I kind of want to talk about one aspect of getting ready for a ride, and that's kind of one of the things we do for our boards and kind of the most important thing we do, and that's to charge it. Now, obviously, it's kind of winter right now. It's tail end of January. It's cold out where I am. It's snowing out. How I start my, next ride process, maintaining my board and charging it. So since I can't do that, what I have here is my board. The first thing I do is I look at, what is my percentage at? What is my voltage at? So I have a CBXR. I have the Qi gauge. What was that? 68, 69%. So I obviously didn't use as much power as I thought I would on my last ride. In terms of getting ready for our next ride and how you charge your battery is going to be really important coming up in the future, or at least I see it as going to be important. And that's because we have people, more people starting to go to CBXRs or Quarts or even the GT, and even the Pint X now has more range for the Pint line. And why this is important is because how you charge and maintain your battery is going to kind of help determine the long-term, health and well-being of your battery. And some of these sports may now have more mileage range capacity in the battery than you can use. And that's why how we, prep for the next ride, how we store our board and how we charge it is really important. So right now my board is at 69%. I'm not going to charge it. I'm going to leave it as is. And, it may be a few days until I find, there's better weather to ride or a reason or a place to go ride my board. Then depending on that, how far that may be is going to determine how much I charge my board. So maybe it's like I have another trip to physical therapy. So then I'll charge my board to pretty close to full. Because there's a hill and then regen and all of that. But basically that may be a circumstance that I charge to full. Now, maybe if I'm just going to go putz around the block, I'm not going to charge the board, because if I putz around the block for a mile or two, I have plenty of range remaining in my board that I don't need to charge it, to 80, 90, whatever, or full. So I'm going to maintain what's in here. And I'm actually probably going to use my board upstairs in my apartment while I work as a balance board. And I'm just going to stand and float and, putz around in my office while I work. And use it for my physical therapy. And I probably won't need to charge it at all. So that being said, the way I've shifted my charging strategy is to charge before I ride. And you can kind of adopt this and tweak it a bit for winter weather riding. And so I won't charge until before I go to ride. And what I do is, down here in my laundry room, I have this normal, XR charger. I have a power strip that's behind my phone that you can't see. And then I pair a smart plug. You can use the Amazon ones, Google, whatever ones you have luck with. I don't have such great luck with the Amazon ones. They putz out after a while. So I use a different brand one. And basically that's all I do is I plug, this kind of also illuminates the, what order do I plug everything in? Do I plug, into the board first, then into the wall, or wall first, then into the board? Well, I plug everything in, with my smart plug off. And then an hour or so, whatever I decide I need before I need to go ride, I'll just, say, hey, whatever system, turn on that charger. And then it charges. Now, and then what's really great about using a smart plug also is you can set a timer. So if you know how long you need to charge for, you can set that as well. So, if you're at the top of a hill and need to worry about regen, You know, you could say, you know, charge for 20 minutes and, you know, 30 minutes, whatever, you know, so you don't reach that, you know, full percentage. And so you have that headroom to go down that hill. You know, so that's one way it's really great about these smart plugs. You can get even crazier with them if you get like a more expensive one that watches the wattage that's being used, and then you can like link up with like IFTTT, I don't know how many T's, if this then that programming that basically says, you know, when the wattage of pole drops to like 0, shut off, or like probably like a wattage use of like 5 or something would work for like cell balancing. So then, you know, your board, you know, stops charging. Or, you know, once it reaches, you know, 10 watts of use, you know, let it run for like an hour or 2 hours, whatever, a day, and then shut off, you know, to time your cell balancing that way as well. And so even with, you know, that this approach of charge before your ride, what's really nice about it in the winter is it warms up your battery. So you can get a little bit more range. Your board starts, or your battery starts warmed up at least, so you can go out and ride in colder weather. I've used a technique of basically of charging in the past right before I ride, down to single digits when I would commute into Philly, in the years past. That worked pretty well for me. I don't have any complaints about it. And that was back when I had the stock battery as well. Yeah, so I mean, the only kind of downside about this is that of charging before your ride, one of the other things you want to kind of pair this with is knowing how much battery you're going to use on your ride. So ideally what you could do is, if you're only charging for what you need, you can effectively stay around, say, 50%. So when you come off your ride at the end, your board's already at a storage voltage. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to worry about trying to get it down, you know, to like 40, 50%. It's going to be there already. And I think that's going to be something really helpful for people that are getting GTs and CBXRs, not necessarily always using the full capacity. They can help preserve their battery by not charging to full and just charging for what they need. You know, the idea is still to get down to a storage voltage, so that you don't have to do anything special between rides. It makes it complicated the first few times while you get to learn how fast your board charges. And also you have to have the confidence in knowing how much of your battery you're going to use on a ride. So one of the ways that you can kind of adapt this to is for cold weather. If I was going to charge my board to full, it's been down here in the garage storage room for a day or two because I didn't know when I was gonna make this shoot this, and I didn't want to lug the board up and down and all that. But let's say like you ride to say 20% of your battery. So what I would do, you know, is charge immediately to, you know, 40, 50%, you know, whatever your target storage percentage is. Charges to that, stop charging, and then like if my board right now, you know, is at 20%, I would be charging it right now to 50%, you know, right out of the cold. Because I know from like if I come out, or if I end a ride, if I charge it right away, my battery is still going to be around 60, 65 degrees, give or take, depending on what the air temperature is outside and all of that. But I know in most cases I can charge my battery without worrying about damaging it due to a cold charge. Like right now, because this battery's been sitting here in the basement for, you know, a few days, I'm not going to charge it cold. But what I would do is, you know, you might charge it right away after a ride, 40, 50%, bring it upstairs, bring it inside where it's warm, let it sit, you know, at your storage voltage, and then, you know, charge again to like, say, like 90%, 100%, you know, full whatever before your ride. But your next step one way you can kind of get, you know, an accurate tire pressure is to go set it outside in the cold. And when I say this, I mean, like, I would bring it back down into my laundry room and I would plug it back into the charger, you know, especially if I needed my board to be at 100%. I would plug it back into the charger, keep letting it balance charge, and, you know, the batteries will stay warm. But then what will also happen is the tire will start getting cold. The air in the tire will start getting cold. So then what I'll do is, like, I can check my air pressure before I ride. And if I need to adjust it because my pump is down here, you fill it up, it'll be a cold tire pressure instead of a warm tire pressure from upstairs, you know, inside where it's like 70 degrees. So my storage room is about 50 some degrees right now. And so that's a lot closer of a temperature differential from 50 degrees to outside. Right now it's like 20 something. So I would lose less air pressure, and my pressure wouldn't be as off. So like that's kind of like my cold weather trick in terms of, you know, charging to get some range and to get a better ride, at least maintenance wise, in terms of like making sure my tires at the right pressure that I like and having a battery that's ready to go. All right. Yeah, so I think that's all for this video. We'll see what other ideas I come up with next to kind of make everyone's lives a little more complicated.